Today I'll be talking about the Battle Pass Lightcones thanks to a suggestion from J the P. These are not the ones from the stellar conversions, but the ones where you can select one after you buy the BP. There are 17 of them in total, and in my opinion, half of them can actually be ignored. But before I start this video, I want to give my honest opinion about Battle Pass Lightcones. Personally, I don't feel like investing in Battle Pass Lightcones are ever worth, because firstly, they aren't free to play, you have to pay money. And if you're paying, you might as well just get the signature Lightcone, or even the ones from the stellar convergence. The reason why I say this is because for them to be good enough, right, usually you need to S5 them, and to S5 you need to buy the Battle Pass for 5 batches. That's basically half a year. Almost. And in half a year, you definitely, through F2P saving, you can definitely save up to get the signature Lightcone. That's just my opinion. However, they do stack passively if you buy them like every month. So let's see which one are actually useful. First, let's take a look at the ones that you should not bother getting. 9 of them in total are kinda useless and should be avoided. Okay, first let's take a look at Blade, okay? 24% attack, and when they defeat an enemy, restores HP equal to 12% of their attack. Well, no point. Okay, even if at S5 you get 48% attack, restore HP. You know why there's no point? This is why there is no point. On the fall of an Eon, 16 times 4, I'll do the math on screen here, okay? And we have this extra effect where you get 24% damage. This is practically free. You do not need the Blade Lightcone, and you do not need to buy the Blade Lightcone 5 times.
Oh no!
Okay, next we have the Tingyun Lightcone. This is really bad because this is basically a gacha Lightcone. Why I say this is because the effect you get is random. Okay, now we have the Sisters Lightcone. Okay, crit rate by 12%, not bad, right? Then after you crit, there's a chance to dispel 1 buff on a target enemy. But look at the chance. 16%. Honestly, in my opinion, right, this effect could be nice on a character. Like a character's a skill or an ability. And there are so much better Lightcones in the hunt path that you can use for this instead. Like the most obvious ones is Cruising in the Stellar Sea, which you can get S5 by default. And there are not many hunt characters that will want to fight for this as well. Okay, we have the March Lightcone, 16% defense, and then when they use the ultimate, it gets damage equivalent to 60% of the wearer's defense. The reason why this is bad is because if you're trying to let Aventurine do damage, you definitely want to get a signature Lightcone. Okay, the Screwlum Lightcone and technically Silver Wolf uses basic attack or skill, deals additional damage. This is something that we have seen from 3B, equal to 48% of the wearer's attack to a random enemy, so this is a bounce. And if it's S5, it's 96%. Not very good. In the first place, right, it is to one random enemy. It can be anyone. Unless this is only on there's only one target on field, which is almost never happening. And most Nihility characters, unless they're DPS, they will not be building attack. So it's useless. Okay, the Lynx and the Pella Lightcone. This was actually useful when Castorice just came out. You can run this on Gallagher. Especially at S5 when he does basic attack or skill. You restore all allies' HP by amount equal to 4%. So this is because this heals everyone. This is like extra new buff for Castorice. However, nowadays, right, running Gallagher with Castorice is just simply not enough. Therefore, making this Lightcone kinda useless. Okay, we're going on to one of the newer Lightcones that they added like last year. So this is the Aventurine one. 12% shield effect, and while an ally has a shield, the damage dealt increases by 12%, and S5 it's double. This is just not worth it. Like I said earlier with the other Lightcone, the March one, if you're trying to let your shielder do damage, this is simply just not good enough. If you want your shielder to even do any kind of substantial damage, just get their signature Lightcone. Okay, the 3B Lightcone, outgoing healing by 12%, pretty decent. When an ally's target HP percentage is greater than or equal than 50%, increases the damage dealt by 12%. Well, this is already not worth it because there's a condition here that it requires to be 50% or higher. The condition itself makes it not even good enough. If not, I think this is actually quite decent because of the damage buff. Okay, our final Lightcone that is not very good is the Nexa Lightcone. This is a Hunt Lightcone. So crit damage 24%, skill and follow attack damage 24%. It sounds good, right? And even at S5, wow, 40% and 40%. However, because Hunt have a very accessible Lightcone in Cruising in the Stellar Sea, which is provides much better than this because it provides crit rate, and Hunt characters do not want to miss your crit. Else they do 0 damage. This Lightcone at S5 even is just not good enough. This brings us to 8 of them that are still kinda useful to a certain extent. Okay, the first Lightcone. Today is another peaceful day. The QQ Lightcone gives you damage based on your energy, and up to a max of 160 energy. 64% at S5, which is 0.4 here, and 32% at S1. Okay, there's a lot of difference between S1 and S5, and most of the characters that can use this Lightcone, you want to run it at S5 instead of S1. So let me explain which characters you want to run this if you happen to have this and you don't have the signature Lightcone. Okay, the first one, the most obvious one, is the Turtle, because she already can cap out the energy of this Lightcone because she has so much energy. However, if you don't have the Lightcone at S5, you want to run this Eternal Calculus instead, because this is the free Hurtle Shot Lightcone that you can instantly just get to S5. It gives attack up to 5 times, and this is very good in Pure Friction because Pure Friction will always have 5 mobs. See, as you can see here, for each enemy target hit, so this is automatically capped out in Pure Friction. And if there are 3 or more enemy targets, Pure Friction will have 16% speed. And if you pair this with Jade, in Pure Friction, your Hurtle does not need speed boots. And the next character that you can use is Jade, if you don't have a signature. One problem with this Lightcone with Jade is she cannot fully utilize this Lightcone, so she'll only get about 56% damage from this cone. But Jade is lacking quite a lot of damage percent, unless you run her with supports that give a lot of damage percent. Argenti and Jingyuan can technically run this Lightcone at S5 if you want to play them as a DPS, as they will need all the help they can get. But in my opinion, it's probably better to wait for the Nova Flare, especially for Argenti. Jingyuan can probably still get by because some of the later supports do synergize pretty well with him, and we also now have Molten Exploit. Okay, the second Erudition Lightcone in the Battle Pass is actually the Phainon one, Dream Center in Wit. It gives crit rate and ultimate damage and fallout attack damage. So at S5, it's a pretty nice 20% crit rate. This buffs ultimate and the fallout attack. There's not much Erudition characters that can actually use this that still work. Jingyuan is one of them, okay, which I mentioned earlier, and the other one is obviously Jade. These two are the only ones that currently still work somewhat while doing damage both via their ultimate and follow-up attack. Preferably you want this Lightcone at S5 for more crit rate, especially for Jade because she gets a lot of crit damage in battle from her own kit. Okay, the Mydei Lightcone, 12% crit rate and 24% skill and ultimate damage. At S5 is 20 crit rate, 40% the skill and ultimate damage. This is actually pretty good. So who can actually use this? Well, Mydei and Saber can technically use this because they do have the ultimate damage, and Mydei does have the skill damage, but they do have some kind of a crit rate buff in their own kit. So if you use this Lightcone, you are likely over capped on your crit rate. What I would say for Mydei, since you're buying the Battle Pass, just get the Blade Lightcone, and for Saber, you can just run Aeon. Phainon and Yunli can technically use this. Phainon wouldn't mind it because of the crit rate. You can get the free crit rate. Phainon does do skill damage, but Aeon is still better, and Yunli wants crit rate. You want to get to 100% crit rate on Yunli if possible, so you don't miss your crit, because she gets 100 crit damage in her out. Now, I talk about Aeon a lot in this part, right? So why do I say this is good if there's Aeon? In the case of if you have the event where you're running more than one destruction character, one destruction character can run Aeon and the other destruction character can run this Mydei Lightcone. So this is why I say this Lightcone is still kinda good, and you can even use it as one. Okay, next, the Cipher Lightcone. Break damage vulnerability. This is a very rare buff which you can use this Lightcone even at S1. Of course, S5 is better because this is the only buff that this Lightcone provides. So who can use this Lightcone? Literally only one person. Run me. I have a huge disclaimer. Because you are buying the Battle Pass for this Lightcone, you technically can also just get Ranmei's Lightcone for free, which is better. However, huge disclaimer, okay? If your break team does not need Ranmei to give them the 1 skill point and the 10 energy, then you can consider to use the Cipher Lightcone, because this Lightcone provides a strong buff that is rarely found anywhere. This is the only reason why I still list this Lightcone as usable. Next is the Hyacine Lightcone, okay? The damage dealt is kind of not very important because Nihility characters are just support characters. You will not run this on Akron because she doesn't need this Lightcone. And after the wearer attacks, 100% base chance, which means 67% effect rate, and you apply vulnerability. So the main problem with this Lightcone is effects of the same type cannot stack. This means that you can't have multiple characters holding this Lightcone in the same team, and on screen, these are the characters that can use this as a side grade. Technically, Dahlia and Fuke could use this, but it has no break effect, so keep this in mind with your builds, especially for Fuke who needs 220% break effect in battle. You can try to use this at S1. It's alright. If you have Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat at S5, then you will rather want to use this instead, especially in your super break teams where your defense shred is very close to 100%, and this could provide just enough for you to hit either 100% or almost hit 100%. And if you didn't know, defense shred stacks. The more you stack, the better it is. The more you stack vulnerability, it gets less powerful because there is a diminishing returns. The Feixiao Lightcone increases the wearer's crit rate by 12% when the wearer's memo spread is on field, increases the damage dealt by the wearer and their memo spread. So this can actually be used at S1, but you want it to be S5. But be careful of overcap if you're running this on any of the DPS that is not Aglaia, because Aglaia does one crit rate. Immediately I can think this is the best Lightcone for Aglaia if you do not have her signature Lightcone, right? But there's this Remaining Signs S5 Lightcone, which is the 3-star Lightcone, and it's about the same, and it's free. The only issue is you lose crit rate, and it being a 3-star Lightcone, you get lower base stats. But if you run Aglaia with Sunday, and can get 100% crit rate anyway, then there's no point in the Battle Pass Lightcone because it's even less damage percent. So as for whether the other Remembrance DPS can use this Lightcone, I would say yes and no. Main reason for this is because this Lightcone doesn't have the HP. You want the HP for Castorice, you want the HP for Evernight. Irene does not want this Lightcone, Hyacine does not want this Lightcone. And Remembrance MC also does not want this Lightcone because they have a tailor-made Lightcone for them, which is the Fly into Ping Tomorrow. Okay, now the Castorice Lightcone, okay? Double crit damage, increases the wearer crit damage, and the memo spread also gets the crit damage. This is usable at S1 if you want, but try to get S5. Why this is good is because both Castorice and Evernight, they have a lot of crit rate in either in their kit or in their relic effect. So you do not really want to build any kind of extra crit rate unnecessarily, if not you overcap. So this crit damage Lightcone is pretty good for them, especially for Evernight where she can share the crit damage with her memo spread. For Cyrene, Remembrance MC and Hyacine, they do not want this Lightcone. Aglaia does not want this Lightcone because she prefers to get crit rate. Okay, our last new path Lightcone. Okay, today's good luck, crit rate by 12%. When you use Elation skill, Elation by 12% is actually pretty good because Elation damage is something that's really hard to find. And in S5 you get 20% crit rate. So for your Elation supports in your EMC and your Yao Guang, they will not want this Lightcone at all. This is for your DPS. Looking at our only 3 DPS for Evanesia, you can run this at S1. However, it's basically almost the same as Mashi. And Mashi, if you run Mashi on your supports, this buff, this Elation damage taken, it can stack with anyone else that's also holding this Lightcone, which means your EMC and your Yao Guang hold this Lightcone, you can stack up to 30%. And you also get the Elation anyway. So unless you have S5, you can just use Mashi. Then for Silver Wolf, it doesn't matter whether it's S1 or S5, you can use this for her because this is the only other Elation Lightcone that gives crit rate. And you know Silver Wolf wants to go 100% crit rate and even go beyond because it will be converted into a crit damage. So for Silver Wolf, this Lightcone is actually good. For Sparksy is the same reason as Evanesia. She doesn't need the crit rate as badly as Silver Wolf. But for this Lightcone in particular, she will see a much bigger jump when you compare S1 to S5. And with that is all for this video. Thank you for taking your time to watch it. I hope this video helps even though the topic is kind of niche. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more. That's all and take care. Bye bye.